Everyone, we right to go? Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty, Commander Homicide Squad, State Crime Command. Detectives from Strophos Buana making an appeal today in relation to the murder of 9-year-old Charlise Mutten. Just going to recap that this whole investigation commenced on the Friday the 14th of January when Charlise was reported missing, and there was an extensive search by police and emergency personnel over a long period of time at Mount Wilson and other locations. Ultimately, on Tuesday, the 18th of January, plastic barrels located on the banks of the Colo River and by detectives from homicide and also local police, and with the assistance of crime scene and divers, the human remains were removed from the barrel at the Liquor Morgue. As a result of the investigation, prior to getting to the appeal, there's been a very extensive post-mortem examination. As a result of that, the coroner, on the balance of probabilities, has identified the 9-year-old girl as being Charlise Mutten. However, further DNA examination will confirm that positively, but at the moment we're satisfied it is 9-year-old Charlise Mutten. I can also now establish, the cause of death has also been established, and I can now disclose that the cause of death of Charlise was that she suffered a fatal gunshot wound, and that's how she died. So we're disclosing this for investigative reasons, but also to clear up any ambiguity, to make sure that we have some clarity to the investigation and any other thoughts that this may not be anything but what it is, and this is the murder of a 9-year-old girl. We appeal to the media to report on this with sensitivity. The family of Charlise have only been informed of the cause of death just recently, but it's important that they know, and it's important that the public know that this is a unimaginable and egregious murder of a child. The investigations are still ongoing. As of the crime scene at Mount Wilson's been ongoing. As of yesterday and today, we've still been searching the building and also the surroundings at Mount Wilson. Obviously now looking for a firearm. And that's been with the assistance of police from OSG, PAWS, divers and dog unit. And that search is ongoing. As such as our investigation is ongoing. And as part of that investigation, we're releasing CCTV on the red Holden Colorado. There was seen to be driven into the city area and also around the Wisdom's Ferry area and Colo River area. And that's important for investigative reasons because there are some gaps of the timeline where the vehicle was seen towing a boat, and so we're obviously very keen to appeal to the public who may have seen some suspicious activity in these locations. So on the 13th of January, that's the Thursday before Charlotte was reported missing, 5:53 p.m. the BP at Marsden Park, Richmond Road. At 7:19 p.m. Victoria Road at Drummoyne. At 7:20 Bayswater Road at Drummoyne. And then, very importantly, between 7:20 p.m. and 9:50 p.m. at the 5 Dock boat ramp at Drummoyne. Following morning, the early hours of the 14th of January, about 1:30 a.m. to 1:40 a.m. at the Windsor boat ramp, Livingston Street at Windsor, and then at the Colo River on the 14th of January at 2:25 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. at the Colo River jetty under the Putty Road Bridge, and 2:37 a.m. to 2:46 a.m. at the lower Colo Road. Appealing for anyone who may have seen this red Holden Colorado towing a boat, any suspicious activity or unusual activity around the car and the boat at any of those locations or any other locations that may come forward. Any dash cam footage that people may possess and we could utilise to give us, or any CCTV footage or mobile phone footage that someone may have. Of course, these timings and locations, especially in the early hours of the morning, would have been unusual. People may have remembered the suspicious activity. and it's really important to help the investigators in this matter. Remember, we're highly motivated because we're working on behalf of Charlise. We're trying to provide answers to her family, but more importantly, trying to deliver justice on her behalf. Happy to answer any questions. Well, that's why we're appealing to the public. Maybe that there's some gaps of what activities and movements there was, and maybe people may have seen something unusual or suspicious around that boat. We're not only just concentrating on the boat, but also concentrating on the actual ute itself. And then when you see the CCTV footage, you'll see the ute and the boat of high importance to us. And I think once we get that information from the public, they may be able to help us to fill those gaps. But it may be really important for us in relation to maybe providing some other evidence for this investigation.
Is it still your belief that Charlise was shot back in Mount Wilson? And if so, have you found any evidence so far?
The search is ongoing in relation to trying to find evidence. The inquiries and evidence and the information we've received to date suggests that the murder happened at Mount Wilson, at the property. It's a point where I can now also disclose that the plastic barrel was from that location, from the property as well. So it's high probability that the murder happened there. The time frames and our evidence we've gathered so far all suggest that's where the murder happened.
Do you believe the barrel was inside the boat that was covered up in CCTV?
Well, you know, what I can say is that, as alluded to, the boat has been covered up, but when you see the CCTV footage, there's also a tarp on the back of the ute. What I can also say is at some stage after leaving the Colo River, that item wasn't on the ute when it stopped at another service station at Bells Line Road at Kermond. So it's highly suspicious that that item wasn't there.
So just to be clear, you think that she was shot at the property and then that the child's body was in either the boat or the truck in those pictures that you released?
The information, the evidence suggests that. That's, you know, this is an unimaginable, egregious act. It's terrible to even think about and talk about. That's why we're appealing to sensitivity on how we do a report about it. You can imagine this is a 9-year-old girl who's been shot dead and then placed in a barrel and then disposed of on the banks of the Colo River. It's hard to talk about, it's hard to think about, but we need to get it out there for our investigation and to get the truth, and that's why it's important.
Did anyone hear
With the mother,
Yeah, I can now say that Charlise's mother, Callista, has been re-interviewed. She's provided a formal statement last Friday. She's in alternative accommodation after leaving medical care. The formal statement at this stage corroborates the original version she's provided, and the evidence and information we have is that we're treating her as a witness, and there's no information or evidence at this stage that puts her at the property at the time of the murder. We're alleging in court, and remember there's a 31-year-old going to court for murder. We're alleging that the murder happened Tuesday night or early hours of Wednesday morning, and the information, the evidence we have is that Charlise's mother's not at the property at that time.
Did anyone hear the gunshot?
That's all part of the appeal. Any information that we get from now on, knowing that now that we know there was a shooting, is really important. So at this stage, those investigations are ongoing. We've got a large amount of police that, again, highly motivated to get these answers. You don't get much more motivation than a 9-year-old girl that's been murdered.
do you know what kind of firearm?
At the moment, we're not going to disclose too much, but what we believe from the post-mortem is a small calibre firearm.
I'm speaking with Charlise's mother. Do you have any clarity as to why she wasn't at the property in Mount Wilson?
She's provided a formal statement and an original version. She was there, and again, we won't go into it too much, but she was staying at the caravan at the time, and the 31-year-old Justin Stein was with Charlise at the time at the property at Mount Wilson.
Why would someone do this?
This is all part of the gathering of information and evidence for the court. We will be providing all that information to the court when we have to, but really, in terms of not long after the Charlise remains were found, Justin Stein was arrested and charged in a fairly short amount of time. He's got rights at the moment in relation to his versions, and I don't want to expand on that at the moment for court. And again, that's all part of our ongoing investigation. Why would someone do this? How the circumstances of why she was there alone with Justin at the time, they're all part of the ongoing investigation.
Was he a registered gun owner?
Not as far as I know.
Can you confirm that when she was reported missing, that Minister, the mother, did confirm that she last saw Charlise on Thursday?
There was some reports that she said that. I think her original version changed a little bit. There was a number of versions. That's why it made it very difficult for the police from Blue Mountains to start off with, assisted by State Crime Command. It also made it difficult for probably the search coordinators and the hundreds of volunteers that assisted the police, because there was different versions of time frames. But from our information, the evidence that we've so far gleaned is that Justin was alone with Charlise on the Tuesday night, and the murder, we will allege in court that the murder happened Tuesday night or early hours of Wednesday morning.
Was there anyone else staying at the property at the time, and if so, were they?
The information and evidence we've got so far hasn't suggested anyone else. Actually, the evidence all suggests that Justin Stein is the only person responsible for the murder, placing Charlise in the barrel and disposing the barrel on the banks of the Colo River. That's the information we've got so far. The investigation's ongoing.
Has he assisted police at all?
Look, he provided a couple of varying versions to start off with, and then since then he's been arrested and charged. So that's it. He's before the courts.
And where was the gunshot?
I'm not going to go again. We're talking about sensitivity of how we're going to report this. You've got a 9-year-old girl who's suffered a fatal gunshot wound. That's all you need at this stage. We're allowed to disclose. Family members have just been told. It's very sensitive for them, and it's also important for our integrity of our investigation to maintain that, and also the fact that we don't want to be sub judice before the court.
How is her family holding up?
Oh, look, her extended family and friends especially, and she's got young friends as well. They're devastated. This is terrible news that we have to deliver to them just recently, and this will be a hard thing for them to get by, but they'll get support, and we'll provide that much support as we can. But they're getting support from their own friends and family. But it's devastating from not only the fact that there was a 9-year-old, but it's the circumstances of how she lost her life. It's unimaginable.
Last question. Is there anything about his movements on the Tuesday? I know you say the investigation's ongoing, but anything you can tell us about his movements on the Tuesday that would shed some light as to a possible motive, what led up to this?
The movements on the Tuesday is that he's at the property at Mount Wilson with Charlise, and that's his movements. That's where he's there. What we're appealing for is the movements on the Thursday night, early hours of Friday morning. That's really relevant for us. And when you look at the CCTV footage and the images and the time frames, that's why it's really important for us to get the information from the public, because that's crucial to us to establish the timelines and any activity or unusual activity or any information surrounding those locations where he visited or where that vehicle and the boat were visited. So it's really important that we keep an open mind on the Thursday night, but really it's so important for the community to help us. Look, again, it's sensitive. This is probably very unpalatable for the community to hear all the circumstances of what happened to this beautiful 9-year-old girl. But it's important for us to do that so we can get answers for the family. And really, what's the most important to us is Charlise is not here to defend herself. We've got to act on her behalf, and we want to make sure that justice is delivered for her. They're home alone on the Tuesday night, early hours. That's all we can tell you at the moment.
Was it common for Stein and Charlise to be together
Again, that's all part of the investigations, the amount of times that may have happened, the circumstances. But I'm only acting on the facts that we've got at the moment, the information we've got at the moment.
You said before that what alerted police to this activity was these phone calls between Justin and Calista. So did they have contact between Tuesday and Friday when...
Look, that's all part of the investigation. There's a number of investigation and inquiries that we had to make to be able to establish the movements and tracking of Justin Stein, but more importantly, the tracking and movements of this Holden, Colorado, and the boat. So it's important for us. There's gaps there, and that's why it's important for us to get the information from the public. We really need the community's assistance with this, and again, it's a terribly sad situation. Everyone knows that. But we're trying to be as sensitive as we can, because we just want to be able to make sure that we have all the answers and the complete picture to make it very clear.
How does it feel for you and your colleagues to...
Okay, thank you.